Thank you for joining me for Cold Counter. In this episode, we'll be teaching you how to stop feeding Talon in my ranked games. Now, before we can learn how to cold counter a champion in-game, we first need to identify what makes them so strong. So for Talon, he draws his power from two primary categories. First, his ability to output burst damage, and secondly, his ability to choose when to fight. So we're going to start with how to deal with these two strengths of his, and then at the end I'll give you some odds and ends that I may have missed somewhere in here. Now, to counter Talon's burst damage, there are some items that you want to start buying. If you're AP, try to buy a Rod of Ages to give yourself a little more health, and or a Zanya's Hourglass. Those are just absolutely perfect for dealing with assassins. The invulnerability Zanya's gives you as well as the armor is invaluable, and the extra health, the tankiness that Roa gives you isn't bad as well. Now if you're AD or tank, you can buy a Guardian Angel or a Steric's Gauge, up to you. Both items work relatively well in countering an AD assassin's burst. Okay, I've got those items, now what? Well, first check his items. If he bought a Duskblade, he's going to be doing his best to abuse that. So he'll be diving onto you, using his E or Q as a gap closer, auto-attacking W, then ulting and waiting for 1 second to reactivate the Duskblade passive, and then get that true damage on you again. If he's going for a more auto-attack oriented build, say Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, something with crit, then he's going to be using his ulti to gap close, and then he'll be using the guaranteed crit from his Q at melee range to get extra damage and animation cancel for more. Neither one of these is necessarily better than the other, but it does come down to play style. So this can give you an idea of how he's going to behave once he comes onto you, based on what items he chose to buy. So we've got two things that are worth mentioning when it comes to his damage. Firstly, his level 2 power spike. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. It's Darius levels of ridiculous. Make sure that he doesn't land the second part of his rake when the blades come back in on him. Remember that while he doesn't have his ultimate, it's going to be extremely hard for him to stack his passive, which are the 3 marks you see around enemies when he goes in to kill them. Keep in mind that when he doesn't have his ultimate, he has to land that second proc on W to get those 3 stacks of his passive and get that extra bleed damage. So if you can consistently dodge that second proc from his W, then his level 2 power spike should be relatively irrelevant. This also applies to when he doesn't have his ultimate, because his ultimate applies the damage as well, so if you do end up dodging the second proc of his W, he'll be forced to use his ultimate to apply a stack to you. Now let's talk about his ability to choose when to fight. He draws this from his E, and in fact entirely from his E. He has the ability to jump or parkour over walls. This is something that he can do every 2 seconds. It really is incredible. He can get around the entire map with this. To avoid this, you want to do 2 things. First, ward. It's the best defense against any assassin. Secondly, try to force fights in lane, where he can't use walls to his advantage as easily. And thirdly, just don't chase. Don't chase a Talon, guys. He's gonna get away. It's what he does. He gets away. This guy, he's got more mobility than Kassadin. If you can CC him down, once he goes in, and just kill him before he can activate the passive, your ADC is going to be more than fine. But just don't chase him. His mobility is rather stupid. So laning for him is pretty simplistic. Just make sure the second proc on Rake never hits you, and you'll get through the laning phase perfectly fine. Ultimately, there's nothing I can teach you that you can't learn better in-game. So if you've got the IP, and you're having trouble against Talon, pick him up. Play him a few times. You'll get a much better idea of how to face him. Not subscribed? Fix that. Red button right beneath the video. You can feel free to click it. I'll wait. Or maybe you'd like to check out my Camille video, annotation on the left. Thanks for watching.